Hello, everybody. My name is Cynthia Kane, and I am your librarian liaison for counselor education. In this tutorial, I want to show you some basics of searching in our library's webpage and finding information such as books, articles, and other resources, how to find items from other libraries through a process called interlibrary loan, and also asking for help if you get stuck with anything on how to do research. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is click on a tab over here that is called Counselor Education Library Resources and Services. There's an address at the top of the screen that I'd like for you to bookmark or highlight on your computers or your laptops, and that is libguides.emporia.edu/CE. This is an online research guide that I've created for all of you as students. I'm going to be navigating through this guide, and I'm also going to be going back and forth between the guide and the library's homepage just to get you started so that you will become a little bit more familiar about how to use our library's webpage and, again, how to start your research. So the first thing I have on this guide is basically a lot of my contact information. I am available for research appointments. If you are taking classes on the Emporia campus, you're always welcome to stop by and see me in the library and also make an appointment with me. If you're taking classes over in the Earl Center, I'm also very happy to come over to the Earl Center and visit with you about any research needs that you have. If you are commuting back and forth and it's going to be a little bit more convenient for you to talk with me online, I can make a research appointment with you through this way that I'm recording this video through Zoom, and we can share our screens back and forth and basically kind of figure out where you need to be in your research. You can always get help from other librarians as well. We have a chat feature at our library's webpage, library.emporia.edu, where you can chat with the librarian. You can call the reference desk, you can email the reference desk, or again, you can always contact me directly. So let's go to this first tab on starting your research. One thing that I've done with this tab is giving you some ways of finding electronic resources through resources called databases. And this may sound rather familiar from some of your previous college work. We have a wide variety of electronic databases that are available through the library's webpage. I've also pulled out the links to some of these databases, and I've put them over here on the right side of your screen. Now, this basically is just a start to your research. In reality, for counselor education, you may have to go to other resources depending on how specific your topic is. But what I've done is highlighted some more, I would say, more basic ones for your research, such as PsycInfo for psychological and related disciplines, PsycArticles for some full text of psychological articles, ProQuest Nursing and Allied Health Source, and Medline, which are actually excellent resources if you're getting more into the medical or physical aspects of rehabilitation or rehabilitation counseling, if you're dealing with medicine or anything like that. If you're dealing more with the educational aspects of counseling or counseling in elementary schools or secondary education, you might want to use resources such as Education Source or ERIC to find articles on your topic. Finally, this one up here, Academic Writer, I'm going to come back to that one in just a second because that's a more specialized resource that will help you learn how to write papers and do citations using APA or the American Psychological Association style. So you can click on these databases directly. I'm going to go ahead and use PsycInfo as an example. And one thing that you'll notice, because I'm also searching off campus, is that I'm going to be prompted to put in my buzz-in username and password. Now, the reason I have to do this is that if I'm not physically on campus or in one of the campus buildings, this is basically asking me to authenticate myself as being affiliated with ESU. So if you're ever searching with any of our resources off campus, you'll go ahead and do that. As long as you're in this search and you haven't closed your browser, you shouldn't have to re-enter your buzz-in username and password. So I'm going to use PsycInfo as a brief example of how I could structure a search for articles. I clicked on something called an advanced search because in all of our databases, particularly on the research that you're going to be doing, you're going to be searching by topics or what we would call keywords. And it actually works a lot more effectively if you focus your keywords on the abstract of an article. Otherwise, you might be searching in the full text of an article and you might get something that's totally unrelated to your information need. Another good tip to remember is if you're searching for a phrase such as rehabilitation counseling or art therapy, it's a good idea to put a phrase like that in double quotation marks. That's actually going to force the database to search for that as a phrase as opposed to one word here and another word somewhere else. Now, something else that most databases will offer you, PsycInfo is a very good example, is an option to limit to something called scholarly or peer-reviewed articles or peer-reviewed information. You definitely want to do this at this point in your college career because you want more academic and scholarly journals rather than general magazines or newsletters that may not be all that scholarly in approach. And you notice I can do this again by highlighting peer-reviewed journal in PsycInfo. All databases will have different types of limits. PsycInfo can be good if you want to focus on something specific such as a population group and in particular an age group. So with rehabilitation counseling, I may want to focus more upon adolescents. And I'm not going to do this now, but if I am asked by a professor to focus more upon the methodology of research, such as an empirical study, PsycInfo will give me that choice as well. So let's go ahead and search. And now that we've built our limits, that actually is not a bad search. With rehabilitation counseling, I limited to peer-reviewed journals, and adolescents. I actually have 13 journal articles. And one thing you'll notice here immediately is that many of these are available in PDF full text, which is great because then I can read that online. Now, record number 3 is an example of one that doesn't have the full text available. Now, I'm actually glad this came up because I don't want you to give up hope completely. This still may be a very useful article. It may be available in another database in our library. So my next step is to show you how you can find out. So the first thing I'm going to do actually is see if I can, actually I'm going to click on this record here, the full record. And the first thing I'm actually going to do is highlight the title of the article. And I'm going to copy that. Now, a big tip that I can give you for researching is that it's always a good idea to leave one of your tabs open at the library's homepage because I don't want to lose my search in PsycInfo. So one of the first tabs that's highlighted here on our library's homepage is something called the Discovery Search. This doesn't work for every single article. However, if you copy the title of an article that's not available in full text in a database and you put that into our discovery search, this is going to show you if it happens to be available in another database. Now, notice that I didn't really get anything here. I have other articles, but I actually didn't get that specific one. So I'm going to click on this Emporia State University link because I'm going to double check just to see if that journal is indeed available in another database. So I'm now going to copy the name of the journal. The first thing I did was the article title. That didn't work. So now we're going to go to back to the library's webpage, and now I'm going to click on the Journals tab. And remember, now I've copied the name of that journal. And this is just sort of double checking to make sure I haven't overlooked anything. Well, Journal of Applied Rehabilitation Counseling came up. And it looks like it might be available in perhaps another database. So this is telling me that we have it in print in the Emporia Library from 1979 to 2011, and another database called CINAHL Complete has it from 2012 to the present. So let's go back. We need volume 42, issue number 2 from summer of 2011. So this is looking rather promising. If I go back here, this looks like I can't get this one available online because notice that this online access in CINAHL Complete, another database, started in 2012. However, the library does have this in print, including 2011. So what does that mean for you? It means if you're taking classes here on campus, on the Emporia campus, you can come over to our library and we'll help you find this article in print. If you are a distance education student and it's not really that convenient for you to come over to the library, we could scan a copy of this article and then we could send this to you at your g.emporia.edu address. And I'll cover that in a little bit as well. So bottom line is when you're searching in a database, don't limit just to full text because it may be available elsewhere, including our library in print or in another database. We're going to go back to our guide, and I'm going to go to our next tab, Finding Books and Other Items. We do still have a lot of print and electronic books available in our library. Now, we use the discovery search to see if we had the title of that article available, but the discovery search is also useful if you're looking for just books. So let's do a search on rehabilitation counseling in the discovery search. And I'm doing a rather broad search at this point, kind of what I did in PsycInfo. And what's happening now is I'm now looking for books and other items that are owned by our library at Emporia State. And sure enough, the first one that came up was a book called Rehabilitation Counseling and Empowerment Perspective. We keep our books in decks in the library, so you would want to look for the location. This would be on deck 2 of the library, the call number, which will help identify the book, and most important, is it available or is it checked out? Over here on the left side of the screen, if I wanted to limit my search just to items that are owned physically by our library, I can click on ESU Has It. Record number 1 is still up there. And as I scroll through, we have other books that are available as well. Now, these are print books. If I wanted to see if our library had any electronic books available, on the keyword search of rehabilitation counseling, I can click on this limit for ebooks only. We may not have a lot, as you can see, but there may be some. A lot of these are actually books that are government documents, but some of these might be actually useful for me to take a look at as well. I'm going to limit my search again back to print books. Now, again, if you're taking classes here on the Emporia campus and you're here several days a week, you can come over to the library and we'll be happy to help you find these books to check out. If you are a distance education student, this is where we're going to go into our link here for interlibrary loan, and I'll go to that in just a second. Our next tab on finding articles basically covers what I've already gone over. If you're looking for a specific article, you can search by the title of the article in the discovery search, or you can go to the journals tab and search by the title of the journal. I've highlighted a couple of other things here, not specifically related to counselor education, but kind of good to know. At the library's webpage, we have something called Flipster, which is a series of digital magazines that you can read online. You can also download an app for Flipster onto your tablet or computer or phone, and you can read and actually flip through different issues of current magazines just to see we're flipping through them in print. Finally, again, just as an FYI, if you want to keep up with current news, we have access to the digital edition of the New York Times, and you can sign up for a free account that way as well. The last tab I'm going to click on is interlibrary loan because I've talked about that just a little bit. So interlibrary loan can be used if you have a reference to a book that is not owned by William Allen White Library, or if you find a citation for an article and it's not available either in print or electronic form from our library. The way to do that is to go to the library's webpage and click on this link for interlibrary loan. You log into interlibrary loan, again using your Buzzin username and password. And if you've never used interlibrary loan through our library, the first screen you're going to get is actually a screen that would look very similar to this. And this is where you would need to put in your personal information, including your e-number, and then that way we know how to contact you for further assistance. After that, you can click on whichever form over here on the left side is appropriate. So if you're wanting to request an interlibrary loan for an article that's not owned by our library, go to New Request under Article and put in all the information about that article, the title of the article, the title of the journal, the month, the year, the pages, and so forth. Book is the same way. Put in all the information that you know about the book. Now, if you are a distance education student, you can request that a book owned by William Allen White Library be mailed to you. You would actually use the same book request form. The only differences would be that down here under the notes field, remember on the discovery search we found the deck that the book was on and then the call number. That's where you would want to put that information, and it makes it a lot easier for us to find the book and then mail it to you. For an article, remember I had that print copy of an article. I could go to Article, fill out that same information, and make a note here that I'm a distance education student and this article is available in print in the library and I need to have a copy of it scanned and then sent electronically to me as a PDF. The turnaround time is actually pretty quick for interlibrary loan. There is no charge as ESU students. The only thing would be that if you are getting a book from another library or from our library, you would have the information within the mailing and you would be responsible for the cost of mailing the book back to our library, but that's it. So other than that, this is totally free to you. Plan ahead for interlibrary loan because it's an incredibly useful service, especially when you're doing an in-depth research paper or in-depth search. The last thing I wanted to show you is going back under starting your research. I wanted to go back to this link called Academic Writer because this is really not a database. It's actually something else altogether. Academic Writer is a resource that we subscribe to through the library, but it's actually from the American Psychological Association, or APA for short. And it actually has 3 centers that will let you go through guides and tutorials for learning how to write in APA citation style. You can create APA style references, and under the Right Center, you can actually select a research paper template that will help you set up a research paper, save it in Microsoft Word or as a PDF, but it's already formatted according to APA style guidelines, a running head, an abstract, and so forth. To use this, you would just go to Welcome, and where this says Log In, you do want to set up a free account. And you can use your g.emporia.edu email address, or you can use another email address. The important thing with this is that with Academic Writer, please be sure that you are accessing Academic Writer either through this guide, the libguides.emporia.edu/CE, or if you are at the library's webpage, go to Databases. This is also where you can access our other databases and access Academic Writer this way as well. I would be happy to show you more information about using Academic Writer once you get to the point that you're ready to create papers and submit them using APA-style guidelines. But always remember, that's a very good authoritative resource as well. And if you ever forget how to get back to our research guide, you can click on Research Guides, and you can actually search by my last name, Kane, under the Research Guides tab. And you can see that I have quite a few that I've actually created, and that will take you back to libguides.emporia.edu/ce. And this is a good place to wind up. Again, I am your librarian liaison. I am happy to help you with any research needs that you have with counselor education. Always feel like you can email me, you can call me, you can set up a research appointment with me. Good luck. We're very glad that you're here at Emporia State.